Hey, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking out the time. So you're a full-time trader, and you've just done 113K in prop firm profits in 90 days, including a 40K week. For a lot of the traders who don't know you, how would you describe yourself as a trader?
Hello. Happy to be here too. How would I describe myself? I'm a very not serious trader. No, I don't know. I would describe myself as an evolving, transparent trader. I would say I am a full-time trader, but I would not say that it encompasses my time fully. As you said, I'm a mom, and so that is something that I would say is like 100% of me. And then trading, I would say probably is about 80% of me. So yeah, I would say that I am someone who's still very much in my journey, trying to figure out what kind of trader I truly am. So for me, that's actually like probably the hardest question to answer as like the very first question out the gate. But yeah, that's
Amazing. And how many years have you been trading?
I started kind of dabbling in it about 8 years ago. I moved to Italy at the time to be with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. And I started in Forex, and I just started losing like $200 of my own money on MetaTrader 4 day after day after day. And I did a course, and I would say I gave it not my all, but at the time I thought it was my all, and it just didn't work. And then I got married, and then I had babies, and then I did a more like 9 to 5 career, and then COVID happened, and then I came back to trading 2 years ago, actually, almost to the date. And everyone had switched over to futures, and so I just kind of followed suit, and I've been trading, I guess, full time since April 2024.
Wow. So what was the first 6 years like then?
Well, I got scammed. My first kind of step into the trading world, I got scammed. It was this, I don't even know if it's around anymore, but it was this company that was just like a pyramid scheme. So it wasn't even about trading. It was like how many people you could bring in like under yourself, and people made a ton of money. And it was the only thing I could find at the time. My research, I probably didn't spend too much time researching it, but for what I did find, that was kind of it. And it was Forex. And it was, there was some educational things out there. I think it was I'm trying to find like the silver lining in it, a good kind of maybe intro into the world of trading. And from there, maybe my algo picked up on things, and I found other people. And so I think I really only got scammed for like a month. And then I found Austin Silver, actually. And I was like, I don't know if you're a legitimate person. And we got on the phone. And I was like, okay, you're a legitimate person. And he had a course that kind of opened my eyes to, even just like the verbiage that's used in this world. And it was a lifetime course that I purchased. And so I was very overwhelmed at the beginning, and so I took it very, very slow. And then that's when I think I gave it like a good go for, I don't know, 8 months, and then I took the time off. And then when I came back to it, I was like, oh yeah, I have this lifetime course. Why don't I just like jump back into that? I had a lifetime course, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I paid for this, and I still have like all that all that course work and all that, course material and whatever. So when I came back to it, I went right back into that course, and everything had switched over to futures. And thankfully he like updated it all, and it was all there for me already paid for. So yeah, I just threw myself right back into it. I was like 30. Wow. Like, how pregnant was I? I was like 36 weeks pregnant when I came
Wow.
back to it.
Wow. So you were
Yeah.
36 weeks pregnant. You were learning to basically trade.
With my second baby.
And I mean, the second one they usually say is easier. Is that right?
I would say yes.
Right. Yeah, because
It's easier on the
the mental
mom.
preparation. So
Yes.
obviously, the first baby, you're battling for consistency. The second baby, you were kind of on the verge of becoming very consistent and then also learning a new system. Now, I know Austin. Austin has so many fake Instagram accounts as well. There's so many fakes of him out there where there's someone I followed for many years as well. I can definitely, I've seen his growth over the years as well. And yeah, it seems like a very transparent person as well. I mean, are you still trading that system, or do you have your own system now?
I've switched. I accidentally drank ice. I'm going to chew it. There you go. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. I did not think this through.
It's right.
I'm like, should have got a hot drink.
The viewers need to know.
Should have got a hot drink. Oh, rookie mistake. No, I have completely switched. So I so he trades VWAP, and I think I would say he only trades VWAP, but then he also uses Bookmap too as well. So you could argue that he also uses order flow, but I think majority of it is VWAP. And I traded that for a long time, and I think it's a really good, and I don't mean this as an insult. It's very much not an insult. It's a very good strategy for beginners and intermediates. I think that there's a lot of levels to it that can, obviously he's an intermediate, advanced, very experienced trader and has a lot of success with it. So I'm not downplaying the strategy at all. I just think, like, when people come to me and they're like, where should I start? I'm like, start with VWAP. It's a really great thing to understand. Above it, buyers are in control. Below it, sellers are in control. Like, if you want to just make it as simple as possible, and that helps you understand price action, in tune with VWAP, I think that it's a great place to start and develop your skills and also become intermediate and advanced in it as well. It just stopped working for me because my schedule changed. So I was no longer able to sit at New York Open and watch the New York VWAP and mark off, the 15-minute opening range, high and low. I was at home with my kids, and I just realized very quickly that it was very stressful. I used to stream in the mornings, and I don't anymore. And it also, the only other thing that kind of left me feeling like there could be more to my strategy is that I just didn't know. I knew when my trade was invalidated, but I didn't know where my take profit should be. I didn't know, am I missing out on profits by just seeing a number that I'm happy with and closing it? And, but it's not even like, okay, I'm okay with that. It's like, I'm at 500. Like, I'm just like, it was a high anxiety, high cortisol situation for me personally. And then in the background, my kids are screaming. I'm trying to make breakfast. I'm trying to make lunches. I'm trying to get them out the door. I'm trying to trade. It's just like the way back. I think my like intro into the social media world was me posting a photo of my one singular laptop, like so dirty with finger marks, on top of a formula can in my kitchen. And I was like, this is my desk. And so like, that was like the hectic environment in which I was trading. And it just wasn't working for me anymore. I started streaming in the afternoons. I started realizing that it wasn't worth the mom that I was becoming in the mornings with the stress, whether it was either take profit hit or stop loss hit or missed profits or whatever, just trying to even manage a trade. It wasn't worth it. So I had to change that.
I know what you mean. There's always those psychological gaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, something's missing. Something's missing. Yeah. You're like, I just don't feel complete in how I am on the charts. And from there, we actually had a guest on stream and he talked about his strategy. And I was like, I really like this. Like, I feel like this could suit me well and my personality. So I reached out to him, and actually, like, from being on stream, he kind of, I wouldn't say he went viral because he's not like an influencer, but people were like, ooh, And so quite a few people reached out, and from there it just kind of steamrolled, I guess, for him. And so I've been with him from the beginning. I would say he's probably even, I would maybe go as far to say is my mentor, but he does a like fractal, like a quantitative fractal strategy. So for someone just coming into the charts, it's probably like very overwhelming, because it is very overwhelming, but it has just catapulted my trading. So that's what I'm doing now.
I mean, I looked at some of your charts and they're quite simple in comparison to what Austin has.
My charts are.
Yeah. I mean,
my charts are, yes. His charts are not.
So, I mean, obviously that probably happened when you made the transition to futures over the last 2 years.
No, futures was like, I did VWAP with futures for, I would say, a year, or a year and a half. This recent switch has been about 8 months that I've been like doing this new strategy.
Right. And would you say that the shift to futures is now it for you? You're not going to go back?
I don't think so. Like, a lot of people still that are in my circle like Forex because you can swing trade and your leverage is higher and all these reasons. But no, I'm just not going to complicate it for myself if I don't have to.
For a lot of the traders who are listening who might be new, how would you describe the benefits of futures over general CFD or spread betting?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, the spread is better. Like your commission rates are better and things like that. That doesn't really matter to me. To me, what matters is like when I came back into the space, a lot of the CFD firms actually shut down because of regulations. So I'm in Canada, so I'm kind of lumped in with what's happening in America. And actually our options are a lot slim, like we a lot slimmer. Is that the right word I'm looking for? Like we don't have as many options as Americans. And so when I came back into the space, a lot of firms had been shut down. There was a lot of kind of sketchier things that were happening, and therefore the entire industry moved over into something more regulated into the futures route. Now CFD firms are kind of coming back, and they're making more of a name for themselves in the space as a more regulated, safe place to maybe invest your money. So if you, for a beginner trader, I would say if you're looking for swing trading, there's nothing wrong with going the Forex route. Their plans are typically more expensive. So like the barrier to entry is greater. Also, their plans, I haven't paid too much attention because I'm not really in that realm, but they're usually at least two-step as far
Hmm.
as I can remember. So the challenge to get to be funded is greater. So there's pros and cons, I would say, to
Absolutely.
both.
So,
Yeah.
kind of going into your journey. So, you lived in Italy, Switzerland, and Vancouver. And did the exposure to the different environments really shape your mindset? Because for a lot of traders that we have spoken to on the podcast, they do talk about how their environment has really helped them in their journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say yes, but it was not necessarily where I was. It was more so why I was there and the situation that I was in when I was there. So I moved to Italy because I went traveling, I met my husband. We were, like in love, and he couldn't come here. His career couldn't transfer over here. And so we were put in a position where if we wanted to be together, I had to move there.
Yeah.
And so I did. And looking back, I'm like, my gosh, like I was just so young and was like, whatever, it's a fun opportunity. And now that I've done it, I'm like, I cannot believe that I did that. It's just such a, like, I didn't think things through. And of course, it shaped me into this, shaped me into the person I am now and the resilient person I would say I am. And I think you need to be resilient to succeed in trading. And it's built this career. I was a fundraiser for a nonprofit in Vancouver. When I moved, I was like going down a very different career path. But when I moved to Italy, I couldn't speak Italian. There were no jobs. There's not really a great economy over there, even for Italians. And the pay that I was offered for the few jobs that I found, I was like, nah, this isn't it. This is not it for me. And I also just didn't really want to teach English.
Hmm.
So I did that route. I taught English and I was like, this is not for me either. So it forced me into a situation where I was like, how can I be independent and make my own finances and find something that I really enjoy doing? And that's where I was like, and somehow training kind of just came into it. And so it really forced me into this world. And so it wasn't necessarily being in Italy, but it was the circumstances that I was in when I was in Italy,
Right. And was there a
if that makes
moment
sense. And
where
then
the
Switzerland.
was there a moment where trading clicked for you then, and it was like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. Because for a lot of people, it can be off-putting. Like you said, losing $200 every day. There's always these self-doubt questions. Is this a scam? Are they capping my stop losses and all these things that go through people's heads? Which I'm sure we've all had those thoughts. So what really clicked for you to be like, okay, nope, I'm doing this, and I'm going to pursue this?
I would actually go as far to say is that traders will have those thoughts no matter how long they've been in the game. I still have those thoughts. And I probably had those thoughts a few days ago where I had a really bad trading day and I lost all my funded accounts. And like, you're like, oh my gosh, is this roller coaster really it for me? But I would say that when looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, when I was like 2 days postpartum, I just had my baby. And when she was sleeping, I was on the charts. I was like, yeah, this is probably it. This is probably the thing that I care about, aside from obviously my family and my friends and things that bring you life outside of the charts. This is what I care about. And that was actually before I even really had seen a payout. And yeah, I just think too, like once you are no longer in the 9 to 5 rat race for a long time, it's hard to go back. Yeah. I think, yeah, I lived in countries where I wasn't fluent enough in the language to get a job. So like I said, it forced me into this situation. And I don't know what it is. I think like myself personally, I do love the shock factor of people being like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a day trader. And they're like,
Hmm.
whoa, did not expect that. Like, that's interesting. Tell me more. I do love that as well. So that kind of is a nice added benefit. But to like one specific pinpointed moment, I don't know if there was one. I
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
think it's this feeling that you're like, there's just nothing else for me that I could be doing right now at this point in my life.
I mean, like, it's different for everyone. I mean, some people, they get hooked
Hey guys, quick pause in today's podcast. I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, which is Get Leveraged. Get Leveraged is a prop firm built by traders for traders, and their mission is simple: identify talent and reward them with capital. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you use the code ML05 at the checkout, you'll get a discount on the challenge fee, but more importantly, you'll be enrolled into a lifetime trading league. What that means, you'll be permanently eligible for every single giveaway, milestone reward, major raffles, which means fully paid assessments, challenge resets, even funded account packages, and monetary prizes. And get this, their turbo challenge starts at $8.88, so you can get funded to up to 150k. That's insane value. Link and code is in the description. So let's get back to the episode.
With the idea, like you said, their day job might offer them something like $2,000, and a trading day may offer something like $2,000. And then you look at the difference and you're like, hang on a second, 10 hours a day for 30 days, or just lock in. And when you weigh it up, you're like, I'm just going to lock in. And like you said, your children are your why. And that's a strong enough driver to make you commit to anything. And I think something that I've noticed with a lot of consistent traders is their why is stronger than them failing. So the why is what gets them up every morning, gets them to be disciplined and pushes them. And I think with those people who are in their 20s and they don't have that strong enough why, those are the ones that end up going back and forth, and then not realizing that it was never their technicals, it was their psychology that they had to work on.
Totally.
and realize those things.
Yes.
So I want to ask you this, in terms of when you started to now, expectations versus reality, what would you say was like the biggest shift, the defining breakthrough moment for you that finally made you realize, okay, this is working?
I would say it is when, it's when I shifted strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that there can be a method to the madness. And again, the VWAP, that's a method. There is a method there. But for me, I felt like there was a lot of guesswork as to when I was happy enough with my trade for where my take profit would be, like I said, because it was either floating into profit and it was like great, or it would quickly reverse on me. And I was like, wait, hold on. But like yesterday, this continued in my direction. So I don't quite understand what happened there. And so when I switched strategies, and sorry, my hair is like in my eyelashes. And when I realized, okay, there's a method also to where I can place my take profit. And I was very confident in the trade. It's either going to hit my stop loss, and that's because the trade is invalidated, or it's a valid trade and it's going to hit my TP. Unless you Trump tweets something and you're just blown out of the water. It gave me the confidence to be able to fully sit in trades and make way more money.
Mm-hmm.
Because my trade, my RR now is 1 to 3, 1 to 4, whatever, because I can confidently let my trades run. And I started seeing bigger numbers with less risk. And I was like, okay, this is going to work for me. And I really like this strategy, and I can be okay and comfortable with making more money.
Absolutely.
Which sounds tacky, but it's true.
Well, I mean, I have the same thing going on for me. And there's a lot of traders out there that I know that, they'll play a swing move, for example, and, they'll wait for the trade to kind of bottom out, let's say, and then they'll enter it with a small position and let it move, and then potentially scale into the trade as the trade moves in their direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, those stack up to be a much more profitable trade than trying to get one big trade at the bottom somewhere and then getting tagged out and then it going in your direction and you don't have enough equity to play it, especially with prop firms where they limit you. So, those it's a double-edged sword. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
In regards to a losing day, I mean, how do you mentally reset to, because obviously, you've got kids as well. So, you can't just go to bed and wake up the next day. You've got to kind of crack on, look after your kids, make food possibly, and do so many different mum chores as well. So how do you mentally reset after a hard day's work?
I think this is a layered question. I think that it's not simply go for a walk, which I would say go for a walk. Like if you need to in the moment, great. But I think that there's ways that you need to prepare yourself as a whole in order to successfully be able to leave the trading day at the desk. And I preach this all the time, to have a budget that you don't go over. So it's not, my answer is more than just, watch a TV show. It's, you need to have a budget that you can lose all of that money. And you're like, okay, that's okay. I put that aside to lose. And if I lose it, great. And if I don't, I wait till the next month. And that's the money that I spend on prop firm accounts. Because then when you have a losing day, you're not like, how am I going to pay my credit card bill now? How am I going to pay my internet bill, like my food bill, all these things? You're not reliant on trading to be able to pay off your bill. So that's the first thing. Because if I take a losing day, which I did this morning, I had a losing trade, and it's like, okay, like like I don't take it personally. I know the market's not out to get me. I know that I have a very, very successful strategy. So when it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, and that's okay. I also know that I'm not on the hook for money when that trading day doesn't play out. I know that I have a family and kids that don't understand when mom has a bad day. Like even my husband, we don't talk about it, like, because he's totally removed from the financial world. So we don't sit and talk about how I lost money or how I made money or whatever. It was like, did you have a good day? Yeah, I had a good day. Did you have a good day? It wasn't the best day, but I'm still having a good day. Like there's people who are reliant on me to be a mom that is not a grouchy mom. So budget, definitely budget. Definitely budgeting. Like I think that that's the answer. Like, to not put yourself in a financially dependent situation on your trading.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
I mean, you're a risk
Yeah.
manager on the markets and outside the markets. And,
Yes.
you know, like you said, if you're over leveraging your credit cards and stuff, you're over risking. So you need to work within your risk parameters. And first of all, need to know that. And I fully agree that I think a financial audit is so important for most traders to realize, what are you actually wasting your money on? And what do you want to dedicate your money towards? And like you did previously, you dedicated to your education, and then you went for prop firms, and then you started growing. And it's a step-by-step process. I definitely feel like the older majority of traders out there with about 30 pluses are usually the ones that get that. Usually it's that 20 streak where you're gambling a lot of the time, and you don't realize it, which is the worst part. You don't realize you're gambling, but you're throwing so much money at the market. So then you think, I could just make it back from working, but you're doing more damage to yourself psychologically by doing that. It seems like you've actually had to shift a lot of belief systems and change a lot of your identity coming into trading. So what traits would you say have really helped you succeed? I mean, because obviously we're not all naturally built for success, so you had to build them.
Yes. So I am inherently incredibly competitive, and that is a bad trait and a really good trait at the same time, like most traits. But I'm very competitive with myself. So growing up, I played a lot of competitive sports and I also played an individual competitive sport. I was a competitive swimmer. And that's between you and you. Like, of course, yes, you want to be the first person to win the race, but also you're trying to beat your own personal best time, race after race after race after race. And so being incredibly competitive has helped me. And I've always, I don't know what it is. I don't know what there was in my childhood or how I was raised or whatever, but I just don't give up. I just don't give up. I'm that girl who gives up her everything and moves to Italy and learns the language and perseveres. And, you know, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but I have never been the person to back down to a challenge. Or like one day trading, I was one day away from, it was my first ever payout. I was a day away from like an $8,000 payout, my very first payout. And I lost it all in like a matter of 10 minutes because I was in the middle of a conversation and I couldn't get out of the conversation, and I was in the trade and I was up green and I got greedy. And then I got mad at the person that I was having this conversation with, husband, and I was like, I'm trade, freaking leave me alone. And then I just spiraled and I lost it all. And then I was like, I didn't keep going that day, but the next morning I woke up and I was like, I'm not giving up. This is not the end for me. So perseverance, being extremely competitive, very stubborn. I have a lot of grit. Yeah, I think that you need that.
Do you know what?
Definitely.
It's probably like so many people listening to this. I have a very similar experience, you know, with the first payout as well. And it was like I had the consistency score and I was stacking it. And I was literally on the verge of getting the payout, and the self-sabotage kicked in. And when the self-sabotage
It's
kicked
so
in,
sad every time you hear it.
yeah, I literally went for a blood test, came back, and usually I was using my wife as an accountability partner at the time, and she wasn't there. So I just kind of went at it. Yeah, exactly. It was totally her fault. And yeah, and it's just so disappointing, you know, when those things happen. I mean, for you said like you came back the next day. You know, someone like myself, I'll take time to reset. I mean, Do you find that coming straight back and just not kind of coming with that resilience has worked in your favor, or?
Yes, I would say so, but there have been moments where I've taken breaks. So it's a feeling of I can't believe I did that again, like extreme disappointment in yourself, but also apathy towards my trading. And when I feel both those things, I know I need a break because you come to the market and you just over leverage, you just take random trades because you're like, whatever, I don't care. I don't care. Like if I lose this account, I don't care. And that's an unhealthy way of coming to it. There's a part of me that if I lose a trade, I don't care. If I lose an account, whatever, life goes on. That's a healthy way to look at it because I have my budget that I set out and I stay within it. But when you're like, whatever, you're making rash decisions, you're not thinking through anything. Maybe your cortisol's just been kind of high for a while. And so you're incapable of making good decisions. But then you're also disgusted with yourself at the same time. Like that combination together, I've had that, I think, probably 3 times in the last 2 years, which feels often. And I've taken about 2 to 3, up to a week break off the charts completely.
Absolutely. And
So
during that,
otherwise, nope, just get right back on the horse.
yeah, I mean, do you know what? It takes a lot to get right back on the horse as well. And during that time where you would take time off, would there be anything you do like rituals, processes, back testing, forward testing? What might it be?
I don't backtest. No, what do I do? I mean, this was before I was streaming, so like I could actually take a break. Now it's hard to be able to actually completely disconnect. But one of the times it lined up very well because I was on vacation with my family. So I just completely just spent time with them and I was off the charts completely. I wouldn't say there's anything in particular that I do as a ritual. I just make a point that I don't go on my app, the TradingView app on my phone. I don't look at anything. I don't look at any trading news. I don't look at financial juice. Like it's a complete break and just it's just refreshing.
Absolutely. And I suppose one of your whys is the freedom aspect, to not only just spend the time with your children and watch them grow, but also to have that freedom for yourself. That's a part of kind of embracing that when you do take those breaks. So, I mean, obviously, I know you're very transparent online and you kind of pretty much talk about everything that happens in your trading from a very transparent perspective, which I think is quite unique in this industry because, as you probably already know, there's so much, well, I would say negative advice being given out there to traders, which kind of promote the more gambling side of things. So, what I wanted to ask you was, why is transparency so important to you?
I care. Unfortunately, I care about what people think of me, and it's a lot less than it used to be. But I don't want people to think that I'm a fraud. I don't know why. I think I'm proud. Like
Mhm.
I'm also very proud of how I've done in what I've made for myself in the last 2 years, but specifically in the last 6 months, how well I've done. And I don't want people to doubt that, which seems silly, but I don't even want whispers of me being a fraud out there. So there's that. But also, since I've had this kind of success, let's say, friends have come to me, family members have come to me, random people, but especially moms, like stay-at-home moms, are in my DMs, ask me how they can get started. And I would not be able to sleep at night knowing I sold them a dream that's not real. And to say, because my old boss, actually, she started trading and she was like, I want to do this, like, because we're very similar people. And I was like, you need to be prepared that you're probably not going to make any money for, like, you'll get payouts probably because I know her and she's very competitive like me. You'll probably do well and you'll probably find success earlier than most, but you probably won't make money for like 2 years. And you're going to be surprised about how much money you're going to have to spend. And you have 3 kids at home. And I don't want to put you in a situation where now you're like, I've spent $10,000 and I've made 1,000. Like, this is
Mhm.
not what you said it was going to be. So there's multiple reasons why I feel like it's important to be transparent.
I fully agree with you. I mean, people need to know from the ground up, especially people listening to this podcast. Like, it's a long game. You put in the work at the beginning. It could take a few years. It depends on the person. It could take a decade for some. But when you get it, you've got it, and your dues have been paid, and then the money will just come back to you. But if you give up somewhere down the line, you're not gonna receive that, and you'll just leave with a bad experience.
Exactly.
So obviously, you're successful now, right? Obviously, still battling with all the psychological battles that all traders experience, but you've overcome a lot of things, but you're still overcoming things beyond just P&L. How would you define success?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think in life, being successful is being able to have the freedom to do the things that you want to do. That sounds so simple, but like I know that I'm successful because outside of my P&L, because if my son's daycare called me, I could go and get him. If I wanted to pick up my kids early and go get ice cream, I could go do it. If we needed, here's another thing, which is it is money related, but I've been thinking about it a lot because we're an international family. If we got a call and we had to go to the other side of the world, we'd be able to. We'd be able to buy the tickets. We'd be able to go. We wouldn't stress. We would be able to rent a car. Life is easier now. And I have a really hard time saying that because it sounds gross to say it. Like I feel gross being like, my life's easy because life's not easy in a lot of ways. Everyone has, even if you are successful with your P&L, life is not easy in a lot of ways. But I've reached a point now where if I wanted to do something and set my kids up, if I wanted to, I could.
Hmm.
And so for me, that is, I feel gross answering that because it does come down to like money at the end of the day, but just the freedom to be able to do those things, to be able to do the things that I wanted to do in life, but give my kids the life that I really wanted to give them as well. To me, that's successful.
Absolutely.
But then my kid the other day, he broke a toy and he was like, well, just buy another one. I was like, no, this is what I don't want to happen. You're
Yeah.
not getting a new toy. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna
No,
pick up all your books and then we can get a new
they
toy.
always say there's that full circle where, you get the struggle, the ones who struggle, and then the ones that break through, they get rich, then the kid's second generation, and then eventually someone loses it, and then the circle repeats itself. So, a trust fund is definitely what's worth putting in place as well. But
I
no,
know.
I definitely think
They're gonna have
that
to work for it.
yeah, they are definitely. Yeah, slave them away. But no, for sure. Like, it's definitely interesting you say that because for a lot of people, they haven't experienced those wins, and a lot of people are forgetting that you've been in this game for pretty much over 8 years. So the majority of those years, you were struggling, you were stressing, you were probably crying over some stuff. I've been there. We've all been there. The ones who've been there for over a decade, and there's a lot of pain involved, which people forget that the Rebecca you see today isn't the Rebecca you saw 5 years ago. The one 5 years ago was stressing over position sizing, over trading. And these things can still creep up, as we know in trading. It's just we're better at managing
Oh, yeah.
those and recognizing it before it happens. So we've mitigated with putting rules in place. So I want to talk a little bit about your pretty good run, your 113K run and your 40K week. Oh, that's something which is an extremely exciting milestone. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you did 113K in 90 days, right?
Yes. Yeah. In the first quarter. Yeah.
In the first quarter of this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And what happened psychologically during that run? Because that's a lot of money. That's a massive shift.
Yes. I actually didn't even realize that it was happening. Like I just had my head down and was just trading.
Mhm.
And I didn't do the math until the end because I was like, oh, I'm curious. I've had a good run. Let's see. And then when I added up, I was like, holy smokes, like that's a lot more than I thought that I had actually made. And it was very surreal to
Mhm.
me. It still doesn't feel like quite real. I remember I had the days where I would dream that I would make $1,000 in a day, and that those days seemed unattainable. And now you kind of lose, it's almost bad because you lose a little bit of your concept of the reality of a dollar
Mhm.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
of course.
Yes, yeah. But
And
yeah.
I mean, as the numbers grew, did the pressure increase as well? Like, did the confidence take over, or were you just not paying attention to that and just sticking to what you knew and just kind of in a mechanical process?
The confidence took over at times, and it's this weird inner battle between feeling like a total imposter and then also feeling overconfident in my trading. It's very strange, but I definitely got overconfident and then humbled very quickly. And I think that being able to bounce back and learn very quickly from that feeling of being humbled is what continued my success. And also, something that I did, which is talking a bit about strategy, is when I had a winning day, I didn't just stop at my winning trade. We have at Tradeify, we have coaches, and one of the coaches came on, and he's been like a floor manager for a fund for like 20 years or 30 years or something like that. So he is way more experienced than me. And he said that he tells his traders, if you have a winning trade, if you have another good setup, risk 30% of the profit that you've made on the day to make more. And you hear all the time, don't be greedy, be happy with what you get. Green is green. Well, green is green, but if your reds are bigger than your green, then green isn't really green. So it's not, you can't just say, well, green is green. I made $100 on the day. Well, if your losses are $600, then it doesn't really matter. The math doesn't add up. So I started risking, I would say about the beginning of the year, I started risking 30% of within, 30, 32, 30, whatever percent of my profits on another setup to make more. And that just added up and added up and added up and added up. And so that was the kind of shift that I've made recently to really capitalize on my good days.
Right.
And it just added up really quickly over time.
Just to clarify for listeners, this isn't 30% on one trade. It's 30% over a sequence of different trades, but you use 30% off the capital.
It's like if my first trade, I have a really good trade and I make $1,000, let's say, and then another trade comes up, I'll risk $300.
Okay.
To make whatever that trade has for me. So you have to do the math and,
right. And what if you lost the $300?
Adjust your size. Then I'll stop.
Okay. And then was that an easy thing to just stop?
Yeah, because it's $700.
Right.
It's hard. I think it's hard when you make 1,000 and you lose 800, for example. And now you're like, oh, I've only made 200, which in reality, 200 is still $200. But now you've lost the majority of your green day and you have that itch to get it back. Whereas $700 is still a number I'm really happy with, especially in my personal account. And that's going right into my bank account. I'm very happy with that. So that does require a good first trade. And that's where things get a little bit iffy for me, is if my first trade is like $400, then I probably won't risk like $100 to make more. I'll probably just stop. So it is discretionary, but I think just capitalizing on your good days has been a huge thing for me.
I fully agree. I mean, it's easy to forget when you trade such a large account size how much $700 actually is, because I think there's this psychological thing that happens in the market where the number on the screen is just a number on the screen to most people, where if I put 10,000, 100,000 in front of you on your table and I said, okay, go spend some money, like it's unlikely that a person who doesn't have much money is going to go and spend £700 every single day, right? They won't realize the effect where in trading, people can happily risk, 1%, 2% and go all out and then blow, 8% or 10% or whatever the drawdown is, where in reality, for me and a few other traders that I know, we treat trading like real money. We would risk like a very small amount and then stack that up. And then over time, maybe add into the risk and increase it. But we're doing that with the profit we've made, not with the money that we have. And would you say that you're like that as well?
Yes, but I would say it's a different ball game with props. So that is how I am on my personal account. I started a personal account about a month ago now, and I put in 10,000 that I made from props. So I put that in. And then since then, I've put in 10% of everything I make, no matter where it comes from. I put 10% into that and I trade it. And so I've grown it up to, in the month, it's now sitting at about 32,000. So that is how I've handled that. And I'm still happy with a $400 day. I'm like, that's an extra salary. That's
Absolutely.
a whole extra, more than at the end of the year, $400, like for 10 minutes of my time. Like that's 100%. That really, and I'm still I will say I am still very grounded in my personal accounts. Prop firms is a bit of a different game. It's a game. It is a game. If and I have to be very cautious when I say this, because if you've never got a payout and you're not profitable, it's not a game for you. You need to take it slow and learn your risk management. I kept a funded account, 3, whatever, it doesn't matter. Funded accounts alive with like $100 in drawdown for about 4 to 5 months. And that was a grind. And I didn't make very much. I didn't make any money, let's just say, even if I got a couple payouts, I didn't make any money in that time. But they were funded and I kept them alive, and that taught me risk management. Would I do that now? No, because I know that I can make money trading. I know that the likelihood of me buying an eval, passing it, and taking a payout are quite high. And so am I going to waste 4 months doing that? No. If I get like $200 left in drawdown, probably going to blow the account, or I'm going to like do a Hail Mary and try and get it back. That's where I'm at now. Would I do that on my personal account? Not a chance. Do I
Hmm.
trade news on my personal account? Not a chance. Do I do anything like that? Absolutely not. Will I do that on prop firms? Maybe.
Hmm.
Depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do I still have room in my budget? Sure.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a different game.
I agree. I fully agree. And, like you said, like prop firms, you have a bit more flexibility to not be bothered about losing, 10% on a 100K assessment, because they're BBICing you anyway.
Exactly.
Most of the time. So it's kind of just like, okay, I'm trading a simulation account. They don't care. They just care about their fees and to balance their books. But at the end of the day, if this is my own money, I'm not going to be risking and going crazy like that. I will be a lot more cautious. Wonderful. And hopefully we'll have you again in the future when you've reached that million. Catch you in the next one. Take care.